The path to justice continues tonight for friends and family of Kara Nichols, who was brutally killed a decade ago in the Springs. Today, the man convicted of manslaughter in her death back in court for a hearing to consider extending his pending sentence. News 5's Maggie Bryan in studio. You were in court. You spoke with those closest to Kara. What did they have to say?
Yeah, Rob, the hearing today took into account Joel Hollendorfer's criminal history, which could possibly extend his sentence of 2 to 6 years to a mandatory 24 years. Autumn Hopfe, a friend of Kara Nichols, says she has lost count of how many times she's walked into the building behind her.
I know exactly how to get to the room that we've been going to for years at this point. You know, trying to get justice.
The courtroom where Kara's friends and family say justice has not yet been served. Kara was 19 years old when she was reported missing back in 2012. 10 years later, in 2022, detectives found her body buried on a property that was an old horse grave. Joel Hollendorfer was arrested and just last month convicted of manslaughter in her death. Her family said they were hoping the jury would hand down a first-degree murder conviction instead.
We are devastated at this verdict. Absolutely devastated. Dumbfounded. We do not understand it.
Now Hollendorfer is back in court, this time for a habitual criminal hearing, where a judge can consider whether his previous crimes can be used to enhance his sentence. The judge is considering 4 felony charges that Hollendorfer was convicted of back in the 90s, including theft and attempted burglary.
The judge did find today, beyond a reasonable doubt, that he is guilty of those 4 additional charges, those sentence enhancers, and so they're going to be looking at what that means for his sentence moving forward at that hearing in August.
Hollendorfer could face a mandatory 24 years in prison with the habitual charges instead of 2 to 6 years. Court records show Hollendorfer was also convicted of harassment and protection order violations in 2012 and 2013, but those cannot be considered for enhancing the sentence because they were misdemeanors.
I know that feels more inflammatory than, a theft charge.
It basically is very clear that Joel is a violent person who doesn't care about other people and he doesn't care about who they are.
Paul Nichols, Kara's father, shared this statement with us, saying in part, quote, "It is terribly difficult to have to listen to these proceedings when it is so clear to us that a man who could strangle our daughter and bury her body so methodically in his mother's backyard is guilty of murder. We hope that Judge Bain imposes the maximum sentence for this heinous crime." Hopfe says anything short of life in prison for Hollendorfer is not good enough.
It's important to remember her as a person, for who she is, who she was, and what kind of life she could have had.
The next hearing will be on August 23rd, where the judge will decide whether or not those habitual crimes are proportionate to the possible enhancement of 24 years. The official sentencing will come a few weeks after that hearing. Defense attorneys had no comment for me today.